You're listening to That Teacher podcast, hosted by me, Alyssa McDonald. I'm that teacher who decided enough was enough and started an online business to fund my own 2-year maternity leave from my teaching job. This journey has been life-changing, bringing me opportunities to lead and grow in ways I never thought possible. Now, I'm on a mission to help other educators, moms, and impact-focused entrepreneurs find ways to build the online business of their dreams so they can have the time freedom and financial freedom they deserve. So grab a cup of coffee and let's bring your wildest dreams to life. I have a funny story to kick off this podcast, something that happened to me this weekend. We were going out to meet my husband's college friends, so I went to get my nails done on Saturday morning. And I hadn't really thought a lot about what I wanted to do with my nails. I just have really short nails and I hardly ever get them done. I didn't think ahead of time. I did not bring any pictures. I had really zero plan. When I sat down in the chair to get my nails done, I was met with this massive question, which was, how long do you want them and what shape do you want them? And I hadn't thought about it. So I just kind of said, you know what, whatever you think. I don't know, whatever you think. And I think I said something like, mid-length and almond shape. Now, if you have had almond shaped nails, you know that though they look really cool, I'm looking at them right now, I think they look really cool. They're not practical for moms or people who work from home and need to type all the time. They're fairly long and they're pointy. My daughter tells me that they're dangerous because they're pokies. So I have to go get them fixed this week. Why do I tell you that story on the podcast this morning? It's because I wasn't clear on my expectations. I personally didn't know what my expectations were going into getting my nails done, which I should have thought a little bit more about that. And then I didn't clearly communicate what action I wanted them to take. And the end result was okay. I think my nails look pretty, but they're not practical. It's not exactly what I wanted. And this is just a very small example of what I'm about to talk about in this podcast episode, which is a really underrated part of your emails that you are sending out to your email list, which is the very last line of your email, where you are actually giving the reader something to do. If you're very vague with what it is you want them to do after they're done reading your email, you're not specific, or you give them a lot of different choices, then you're not going to get the result you were hoping for. They're not going to buy something from you, which is what you really want them to do every time you send out an email. They're maybe not going to go read a blog post or do whatever it is you want them to do at the end of your email. In this podcast episode, I'm going to give you a bunch of quick takeaway ideas that you can test out and experiment with in your email newsletter or any emails you send out as the last line or the last paragraph that will help you move your audience toward the right action, a specific and right next step. The way I've approached this is I actually went through one of my junkier email inbox and I opened up a bunch of them and read the very last line in the newsletter. I will leave them anonymous, but some of the ending lines were not great. They would have resulted in these pointy almond nails, right? They're not specific. And some of them were wonderful and can provide great inspiration for us to try out in our own emails. I'm going to go through those examples and explain why I love them or why I didn't love them right now. All right, the first email signature that popped up, or you could call it a signature, by the way, or it's like the last line of your email. Sometimes the example I'm reading is the last line of the email, or sometimes it's underneath the name in kind of like a PS, and I'm considering that an email signature. One of them said, "Until next week, be well," and then the name. Obviously, it's not specific. Until next week, what are we doing next week? Be well, okay, that's nice, but it's not personal at all. And then the person's first name, I won't say that here, but let's say it was Sarah. I don't know who Sarah is. I don't remember what I signed up for in this email list. I signed up for everything, right? People don't remember us as much as we think they do. The next email I opened up just said XO Sarah. Let's imagine her name is Sarah, the newsletter person. Also, not specific. I don't remember who Sarah is. very sweet that you want to sign XO, but I need some more information and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do when I'm done reading this email. What was the purpose of this? The next one said, that's it for today. Stay tuned for next week. Heart emoji. This, while it, means well, stay tuned for next week is okay because I know at least I should be looking out for something coming next week, but I need a more specific cue to check for that email next week. We can get way more specific with that. Those were a few of the examples that were kind of lackluster. And then I have a bunch of examples that I loved. The first example, I dubbed this the let's work together ending to an email. This person said, when you're ready, here are a few ways I can help. Then they bulleted out 3 different ways. And it's not just link 1, link 2, link 3. It's a description around each link so that the person knows exactly what it is when they click. For example, need a mentor? Book a 45-minute one-to-one session with me to cover any topic of your choice. That gives a really specific call to action. There's a link to book, and it provided some context around what they were going to get when they clicked the link. So that's kind of the let's work together method. I like that one. Second method that I came across in my email inbox was the recommendations method. In this method, there was a little colored box at the end of the newsletter, and it said this week's recommendations, and this is how they ended their email. They have 3 different bulleted recommendations. They are all by the same author of that email, though. It's not like they're sending them out to an external link. They're a blog post, the Facebook group, and something they can purchase. But they were recommended based on the subject of that email newsletter. So instead of saying this was what was on the blog this week, this was what was on the podcast this week, this is what you can purchase this week, it was like, no, the email newsletter was about whatever it was about. Let me actually look. Using art as therapy. I don't know how I got on that email list, but this week's recommendations, a member of our Facebook community recommended this article on the power of using art as therapy, and it's a fascinating read. Oh, that one is actually external. Interesting, but they also linked to their Facebook community. So there's also sort of an internal link and a little push to go be part of this active community. I like that little subtle push. The next one talks about that same sort of topic, but with a podcast episode. And then the last one, something they can purchase related to that topic. That was the recommendations strategy. The third ending to your email strategy that I really love is the upcoming events strategy. This one started out by saying, this week's lineup is big. And then it talks about what's happening Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Now, this would only work if obviously you have events that are coming up, multiple. But I was thinking you could even make things into events that aren't what you would typically think of it as an event. Like you could say, next Sunday, I'm going to be sending you another one of these emails, and this is going to be the topic. On Tuesday, the podcast is being released, and this is the topic. On Wednesday, look out for my post on Instagram. So it doesn't need to be a huge event for you to put it in your newsletter, but I like sort of the time-bound nature of this email ending. The next email ending I loved was a preview of next week. This person said, on to next week's issue featuring blah, 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 blah. They have a 2 to 3 sentence paragraph that talks about exactly what the email is going to contain the following week. Now, you'd have to be pretty prepared to write that out the week before, but what a nice way to capture the attention of your audience and get them paying attention for the next newsletter that's coming out. And this happens right at the end of each email newsletter. 6, I can't remember if I'm on 5 or 6. Yeah, 5 maybe. The fifth example is giving them more to read. This is different than recommended links that I just talked about before. This was reads only. What I like about this is you are in the mode of reading when you're reading an email newsletter. So it makes logical sense that the next thing you're going to do when you're done with that email newsletter, the lightest lift is you're going to go read something else. When you send somebody off to a podcast, now imagine they are reading your email in bed in the morning. They may not be able to put that podcast on until later in the day, and that's if they even remember to do so. The likelihood that they're going to listen to a podcast while they're sitting in bed in the morning scrolling their email is very low. The chances that they're going to get out their wallet and buy something from you while they're reading their email in the morning, also kind of low. I don't want to discourage you from putting sales links in your emails. I definitely think you should do that. But I'm saying that the most likely next action that they will take is the same action they're taking right now, which is reading. So in this example, they give them 5 more articles that they can read about. It says, here are 5 more deep dives from the archives on the same topic that was in the email. It says, never hurts to have a refresher. And then there are 5 different articles. And it gives a little summary of what the article is about, not just a link. This is nice. And I would assume that when you go over and click on their blog to read more, that then the blog has funnels built out so that the person is actually going to make a sale if the reader goes over to the blog and then sees a sales link as well. The next strategy that I love for the end of an email is a quick reminder of who you are, how they ended up on your email list. And then this person also gives them an out. So she also gives a way that you can get out of these email newsletters without unsubscribing. We all know what it's like when we don't know who we're getting the email from and we don't know how it's going to help us. The first thing we do is unsubscribe. So she gives a really in-depth look into who she is and then how you can get the kinds of emails that you want to get. She gives you like an opportunity for personalization. So she says, oh, hey, way down here, if you forget why you're hearing from me, and then she says her name, it's probably because you purchased one of my offers or signed up for a freebie on my website. I teach, and then she talks about what she does, who she helps, and how she helps them. If you're not vibing with my regular emails and only want to get emails about XYZ topic, click here. I'll get the signal and only send you those emails. So she has probably 2 very clear segments of her audience, and she's trying to give the one segment an out here without unsubscribing. If these emails aren't working for you, okay, I'll only send you emails about this other topic. You could also have a little poll. If you have several segments of your newsletter, you can have a poll at the end where they click based on the kinds of emails they want to get. That's a little more advanced, but a way to personalize it. And then she says at the bottom, if you want to fully peace out and never get any more emails from me at all, then you can unsubscribe. But please note, you will also not get emails about any course updates or programs you purchased from me. This is a really good, I like this disclaimer because a lot of times this happens to me. People will sign up for a course through me, but then they'll unsubscribe from emails, which I totally understand, but then I send out an announcement about the course and they don't get it. So that can be really tricky. I like that they have that little disclaimer there. In summary, what all of these different strategies do well, they tell who is the person who is writing this email, how can they help me, how did I end up on this newsletter, where can I buy something from them? If I am reading this email and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to continue to hear from this person and I want to buy now, what can I buy? Can I book a call? Can I buy a lower price product? Can I get on the waiting list for your course? What are the actions that I can take next with you? Don't leave that door open. I mean, obviously, leave the door open. Leave a specific door open. Don't leave it open-ended, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. Don't leave it where they're not sure what the next step is, or they're just going to delete and move on to the next email. We don't want to be vague here. We want to be specific so that we get our readers to take the exact action they want to take, and we need to clearly communicate that just as clearly as I need to communicate the length and shape of my nails next time. This was a short one, but I hope you can take and use something from this episode this week in your own emails. Experiment with it. That's the whole point. And my whole point that I'm trying to get across when it comes to marketing. Try something new. See what happens. Let me know what happens over on Instagram. I'd love to hear which one you try and how it worked out. And I will see you in next week's episode. Thanks for listening to That Teacher Podcast. I have a lot of resources for you in the show notes. Make sure you subscribe to my Monday mixtapes and tune in here to the podcast to learn more business and marketing strategy to help grow your business to the business of your dreams so that you can have the financial wiggle room you've been hoping for. Looking forward to supporting you in your journey.